Hello, hello, this is Arcades, and welcome to the next episode in our QuickStart guide video for Foundry. So, my last episode, I teased, the next step. I teased it. So what we're going to be making is these lines right here to turn the rubble that we get from the miners, in this case of this factory here, this is the this is the ferrite ore, or ferrite rubble, technically. And quick show comes from here. And what we're doing, bringing it in, it gets sent through these machines, and then sent out to where it needs to go. So, this is what we're taking care of. There is also the same setup for the Techum. So we're going to set up one. We're going to set up the ferrite one today because it's more relative to steel. And if you want to do the Techum one, it is pretty much, it's going to follow the same guideline except for the excess needed for steel. So yeah, keep that in mind, and yeah, let's do this. Okay, so we're back in the playthrough world, and so I finally decided how I was going to handle this situation. We're down here, we're at the iron miners, or the ferrite miners. I keep saying iron. It's ferrite. I know ferrite pretty much it means iron, but I'm trying to keep it at least within the game's lore terminology. So we got the ferrite miners. Down there is the Techum miners, and up there, oh, yes, I still got the laser. I know. Cheaty. Anyways, up there, as I point with my drill, is the Ignum ore. Damn it, brain fart. Okay, so what we're gonna do, and this is the plan for the setup. I'm not gonna show a lot of it, but we're gonna basically take, we're gonna set up some elevators. We're gonna bring one elevator down to this floor, and an freight elevator down to this floor. And we're going to then process the material from these through the things I was showing you, which is the thermal separator. We'll go over it a bit more in this moment. And they will be processed in the area, in this local area, and then sent back up the respective elevators right here to the surface. This one being the Techum one, that one being the ferrite one. So, that is the plan. I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to go ahead and get the miners, or get the elevators set up. And let me show you what I'm going to have to work with the Ignum, because it's a bit funky. It's going to take a little bit to dig through it. Alright, so I'm back. I'm here at the Ignum level, where we have all this rubble going upstairs that's going up to meet the ceiling at the moment. We are going to add some more Ignum here. Now, the thing is, we need a little bit more Ignum, but we don't need it for powering making steel. This stuff is going to go for making steel. What we need is a little bit of Ignum to power the thermal separators. I know I'm bouncing all over the place. Give me a second. But, so, earlier we had made a tunnel. It was kind of a mistake to put it here. I actually wanted it over there where it is now. But I'm going to use this, and we're going to add another miner right here. I'm going to clear out this rubble right here. We're going to... then I'm going to put a miner right there in that area. I'm going to make a small bit of processing, like two crushers, and they're going to turn that Ignum rubble that comes off there into ore, and they'll get sent down there on these elevators, which will go to their appropriate floors, and then use that to fuel the thermal separators. Again, you're like, wait, what? Oh, don't worry. We'll get to the thermal separator soon enough and you'll understand why. But for now, let me clear out the hole and then we'll get to the separators. Okay, so got it all dug out. I went ahead and set up a miner over here to get it started. The idea is originally was going to put the miner here and the stuff would snake around, but it was too close to the hole where was the elevator, and I wanted to clear some of that area out for future expansion, so I was like, let's do 2 for 1. So I put this miner here, and it's going to dig through that rubble. It'll give me all the materials for that rubble, and it will clear out at the same time. And then I can just, you know, delete what I need to later on by hand, and probably keep moving it down. Eventually, I will put it back over here, but... So, now what I'm planning on doing is I need to take that, all the stuff that's coming out here, and I need to turn it into ignum ore. It won't be very much, since it's a one miner. It's only going to be like it's going to be 150 a minute. So I'm just going to need 2 crushers to turn it into the ore to fill up to take down to those other things. I'm going to set up 2 elevators here, and we'll go from there. I'll see you in a moment. Alright, we're back. As you can see, I got stuff set up. It's rolling good, collecting up the Rubble at the moment. I've got the 2 elevators set up. Freight elevator 2s in particular. I used a balancer to take the inbound from the 2 crushers that are on the other side. I'll show you here in a second. They're using a balancer to split the load in between the 2 of them evenly. And we've got 2 crushers here. And they're just hammering on the stuff. So they require 100 inputs to make 40 ore a minute. And then that 80 ore, which 40 on each of these, will go downstairs for the next part. We're going to head down to the ferrite station and set up, and we're going to work down there for the next part. Okay, as you can see, we're down here on the ferrite level. And the next thing we need to do is we need to craft up something. I've already got it crafted, but I will show you how it's crafted at. Is we have down here under the structures tab, 4th row down, 5th one over to the right, 5th one going right is the thermal separator. Just requires steel beams, machinery, advanced machinery parts, and electronic components. At this point, you should already have some steel made up to some degree, and you should be able to craft that all. Now, what you're going to do is you're obviously going to craft one for now, or you can craft one to look at it. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this one right here, which I've already crafted. We're going to throw it in. Now, the thing about thermal separators is they require fuel. So we're going to set this one for ferrite. So we can bring up the screen. You notice it says missing fuel. And then it says we're going to take ferrite rubble and turn it into XenoFerrite ore. So it takes 140 a minute and expels 100 a minute. Kind of an awkward recipe number. But our plan is to fill that elevator up with 640 ferrite ore a minute. So that's going to take, in order to get 640, we're going to need 6 of these machines plus one more, at least one more. So that's 7 total machines. And their output is going to fill that. That will give us the 640 we need. Now, however, the Techum could sit at 320 because there's no equivalent in Techum to steel. It's all used as Techum. You're not using, whereas with the ferrite, you're using part of it as ferrite ore and the other half and the other bit of it as steel. So you kind of need more ferrite to work on it. This may change in the future. As of the making of this video, that's the way it is. That's the current situation. It may change down the road. If it does, I'll deal with it then. But right now, so we're looking at 640, and this is what we're going to aim for. It's for a 320 belt of material, or a 640 freight elevator. That's our goal, is to fill that one freight elevator with 640 ferrite ore a minute. So we're to do that at 100 a minute. We need 7 of these machines. 6 of them will be going at full out, obviously, and 1 of them will be at under production. There's no way to really get it under production, so it is what it is. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put 7 down, and the elevator will end up being the bottleneck as it's the only elevator. And we're going to try to place it out so we have some room for expand, but we're basically going to take that now. The reason why we did this stuff with the Ignum ore is it requires fuel. We go to manage inventory, you'll see fuel. Place a burnable item here. Now, if you remember from before, that's Ignum ore, which has a fuel value of 20 megajoules. There's the Ignum fuel rods, which we haven't got to yet, but they're in there. That's at 200 megajoules. And there's also coke Ignum, I believe it's called, which is at 5 megajoules each. So what's going to end up happening is what we're going to do in our setup here is we're going to use the Ignum ore, just straight up Ignum ore. So that's what these elevators that we just put in are for. The Ignum ore is going to come down this elevator, it'll come out here, and we'll use it to string all the combustion, or the thermal separators in a row, and then they will turn the rubble that's coming out of these machines into ore. Hey, here's Arcades again, interjecting on the middle of my own video for something I forgot to mention during my during the original. So it's about the consumption rate of these. So you can use Ignum ore to feed these directly. Now, if you want to figure out how much Ignum ore you need a minute, because it doesn't just straight up tell you. So at the bottom, when you look at these recipes, they're completely the same. It says at the bottom, 10 megajoule of fuel. So that's every time this recipe runs, that's how much megajoules of fuel it needs. Now, if you see right above there, it has a little clock symbol with 3 seconds. That 3 seconds is how long it takes to do a run of the recipe, to turn that rubble into ore. So what we need to figure out is how many times this thing's going to run in a minute, how much fuel then that is total, and then divide our Ignum ore, that value by the amount of megajoules of fuel that Ignum ore provides. So here we have 3 seconds a run. 3 seconds, 60 seconds for 1 minute. 60 seconds divided by 3 is 20. So we're going to have 20 runs of this. Now we're going to take that number, that 20 runs, times it by the 10 megajoules needed, the 10 megajoules of fuel, which will give us 200. So we need 200 megajoules of fuel for a minute of use. Now, if we come out to our inventory, I've got some Ignum ore right here. That's 20 megajoules. So we know we need 200 megajoules a minute. And if Ignum ore is 20 megajoules, we divide the 200 by the 20, and that comes out to 10 Ignum ore a minute. So in order to fuel each of these machines, we need 10 Ignum ore a minute. So, and since one miner does 150, we should have enough to cover 8 machines. Because that's 8 times 10, that's 80 a minute, and our one miner can handle this. So, might have to double up for the, for the extra one downstairs, but I will take care of that. And yeah, so, and I've got something else I gotta fix. So, you'll see that section later. Now, however, because it needs 100, we're doing 6 machines, this means we need a content to keep up with that minimum of 640.
True.
We need a minimum of, and I had these numbers down earlier. All right, so this will give us a value. That means we're going to need 896 rubble a minute. Now, that 896 divided by the 160 that is those rail minders, that comes out to 5.6, which means I need to set up 2 more rail miners and 2 more rail miners and set them up, and then we'll work on placing these separators down. So give me a moment. I'm going to work on getting those miners set up, and then we will come back to this. And, however, it also means I need some more of these as well. So I'm going to collect all this, and I will be back. Okay, so we're done. Hopefully the speed build was fun to watch. So let's go over this mess. Okay, so we needed 896 Rubble a minute, and we've got that through all these miners. So I've got all these miners running into this container. They're all coming in. They're all going to get funneled out between these three belts. There's this one, this one, this one. So that's a 320, 320, and a 320 to divide. That's 960 to divide the 896 between these three belts. I got them all feeding here because containers are the great equalizer. They will take from each row one at a time and then spit them out on the outputs one at a time. Great balancers. Look into them. But yeah, so how I got it is, the thing is I was originally going to just do these two belts, but that was only 640, and I needed at least one more belt's worth of material. But I have decided to go down a middle lane here, which I've got the output of the ignum ore outputting here, and it will go down the middle where they have using second lane loaders to grab into there. So each one is being fed. And then, as you'll notice, I've got these two belt lines are stretching the entire length down to feed these. But the one up here, the third lane, comes up, it splits with the balancer here, and we're basically cutting that belt in half one more time. And what they'll do is they go past the first two machines on each side. So that's 280 that's taken off the belt from the 320, which means when it's getting down here, there's not very much. So it's injecting this 320 line, which is now 160, and they're adding the 160 to just literally just falling on to go that way. So, yeah. And they'll just come down here, and they add the extra, and that's where the extra stuff gets put onto the belt, so I don't have to do some crazy things. So, yeah. And that takes care of all the input needs for the outputs. We've got, let me get these. Copy, shift, whoop, there we go. Okay, so we get all the outputs. They're going in. I got the ones on this side are going straight into here. The ones from the other side, they'll output along this belt, which snakes right in this little crevice, this little opening, through here and up over those belts. Now, these had to go over top these, so they had to go up an extra high, so I'm just using that room in between to feed the belt through and up to the elevator. So the ferrite ore will just go up that way. So let's bring this to life. And to do that, all I gotta do is go click, click, and click. And as you can see, it's getting split and sent down. Alright, those are filled up, and then just need to switch that. And that turns on. And there it is. First bit of ferrite ore. We're all set. You can hear the miners are going at it again. Now they have room. Okay, now that we've got all this part taken care of, let's go upstairs and take care of the next section. Alright, so I'm up here and I've found the elevators. As you can see, I've got them listed with the signs. Techum will be coming up out of this elevator. Ferrite's coming up out of this one. And now we've got two main things we need to do with this ferrite. One, we got to bring it over in engage it with this line of ferrite right here, which is supplying all this. However, I want this to go through the rest of the way so I can clear out these miners. So I'm going to put it in such a way that it prioritizes this. And that way I get this real estate back. Because, I mean, there's still what? Look at that. There's still a good chunk down here. I mean, it was obviously getting close, but it's not so far that I can't do anything with it. So, but yeah, I wanted to get out of that way, so I'm going to put it in such a manner that it's going to prioritize mining that out first. Then it will use the line that's coming from here. Then we're going to take another section of the line, and we're going to use this area to automate steel, which is not going to be that bad, actually, because the hard part is already done. That literally is the hard part, was getting it up here and getting it processed into ore. Now we can use, instead of using this area to do the processing and turning into ore up here, we're actually doing it down there. So now the ore, we can use a smaller area to manipulate this. Now, something I did build, and I thought I'd go ahead and show you, is I built an extension to the mall. I went ahead and added some plates like here, since we're going to be increasing our production of the iron soon. I figured we'd go ahead and expand the mall a little bit, because we're going to need upgraded parts, and we're going to need to be able to grab from steel to help make some of the stuff. And one of the things we're going to need is make the upgrades to like the Mark II, the Type 2 assemblers. I kind of want to move this up to that row as well, and I also need room to make the Type 3 stuff as well, like the belts, assemblers, all that. And want something a little neater than that mess. As you know, we can't have smaller elevators right now, so yeah, that's looking for the major stuff. So we have, now here's the other problem I have, and this one shouldn't be hard to fix. In fact, I'll probably do it real quick before I end the video, but we need to get this, like I said, hooked up over there. And my plan is, I'm actually probably going to disassemble this, not completely, and I'm going to bring it up closer so it will actually go level with the Techum up here, and we're going to process Techum stuff up in this area, so on the floor above, and we'll just have this go over to that area, and I'll probably expand it out. So let me work on that, and I will see you in a moment. Okay, something as a side note I just figured out as I was prepping for doing the next part. I thought I'd remind you, as a part of it, if you want to insert the items, just like all the other buildings, there is the manage inventory. Now you can manually add the fuel. These will normally pick up and store, again, 3 times the recipe, which means for this thing is 1 fuel or 1 ignium ore. So it'll hold up the 3 in it. It won't stockpile a full stack. But you can manually add more than what it takes in automatically, like in this manner. Same thing for this. Again, these will only hold in reserve for the production 3 times the required amount. So, so you just go in here. The auto insert won't insert the fuel. It will insert the rubble, but it won't insert the fuel. And when you hit the withdrawal, it'll take out. Now, just like I said before, this uses fuel, and you'll notice it does not have the grid button there. So, okay, and here we are. We got it all built up. We've got our belt from the ferrite. It's going to lead around. Got it coming down to here, next to the crushers for the ignium ore to the steel. And this comes into this container. Comes here, gets put into the system. Now this is set on the priority input for that side, so it will always take the ore from there first. So eventually this will get whittled down and sent through the system of smelters. So the only thing left to really do is to release the ore. And it's as simple as just flipping the switch. And there it goes. Alright, so, yeah. So a little bit to go over. We did the thermal separators. They got unlocked when you unlock the underground mining for the Xeno and Techum ore. The XenoFerrite and the Techum ore. Underground rail miners. They require a fuel to use. You can use either the Ignum ore straight up. You can use fuel rods, Ignum fuel rods, when we get to making them later. And there's also coked Ignum. And right now those are the three things I'm aware of. There's also biomass, technically. You can use, like, the trees. I believe. I'm actually not sure on that, because I never had the inkling to try. But, to be honest. But I've heard somebody say on the Discord that it's possible. So, and this is how you turn that rubble that you get from the miners into usable ore. So now, we actually have... We're no longer running on a limited supply here. And if you've been following through, hopefully you've gotten through this point as well, and you have yourself your own supply. Now remember, anything in here that I show you here is one way to do the game. And my way isn't the only way. These are just, what I'm trying to do was just make a guide that shows you how to use individual steps, and I'm trying to make a kind of a playthrough so you can see it all develop and working together over time. So, but yeah. And right now we've got, I'm going to be going through, I'm not going to show it, but I'm going to go and do the same thing to the Techum for the next, for the next video, so the Techum will be ready and it'll be running too. Believe it or not, Techum is a lot healthier for the mining spot than that ferrite is. I mean, look at that. There's at least twice to 3 times as much Techum ore available right here. So I'm not in a hurry to get that up here. But because ferrite is the biggest resource in here, Ignum is barely used. Something else I have already done too, I might as well show you, is in the previous videos I've shown you, I made, we got the ferrite, or the steel made. So it's got turned into steel ingots and then storing it up. Well, I drew a belt from the container that has our ferrite plates being made here, along with siphoning off from the steel being made. And I have a container that's being filled with rails for the rail miners. So I'm going to be going down, I'm going to be grabbing all these, and I'm also going to be going to fill all that. And now that we have this line of ferrite, this will also siphon into the system to help fill that back up again. Next episode, we're going to automate steel. We now have everything. We have Ignum ore, we have the ferrite, and we're going to tear down this little crappy setup, and we're going to make a proper setup in the middle of here using a 640 line, or a 320 line of ferrite ore to make steel. This 320 line is going over there to make the iron ferrite, or the ferrite plates. This other one will go to making steel. So that's how we're working it. That's how I'm going to do for this. And yeah, so I'm Arcades. I stream every Sunday and Monday at around 9 p.m. Eastern. I do engineering games. Should be, probably with the next content patch, I'll probably be doing Foundry again on Twitch. So I hope you can join me for that and anything else. So yeah, if you have any problems, if you have any questions, put in the comments below. Like, subscribe. Have a good time. We're all having fun at this. There's no one immediate right way to build a factory, but there is always one way to use a part. So, have yourself a good time. Hope you enjoyed yourself. This is Arcades, signing out. Have yourself a good day.